I still to this day, I mean, I talk to him all the time, and every time I text him and stuff, I still am just like, whoa, I'm hanging out with like my favorite drummer. It's crazy. And I borrowed a drum set from him for a show that I had in San Francisco once, and he, went out and picked it up from his place in Oakland, and yeah, I mean,
Is there
it's he's my favorite for sure.
When you think back to like the most significant kind of turning points in your life, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, um, can you think what are the three most significant
Oh
things?
my. Okay. If I were, well, I don't know if these will be in order.
That's all right.
Uh,
We're not looking for
I
order.
think meeting you and Leo.
That
I
was a
mean, it's
great one.
been 14 years now, so meeting you and Leo is pretty cool. I think, uh, I think the very last Jealous Rage show, which was my high school band, where I kind of threw a tantrum on stage and threw my guitar down and walked off stage 2 songs into it.
Oh,
And then, because I think it was just a defining moment of what did all this stuff really mean to me, and you know, where were my emotions at the time when I was a kid? I mean, I was 17 years old. And then I think, man, it's hard to think of one from when you were younger, but I think honestly, my parents being at my first shows
oh,
and always being my biggest supporters.
oh! Shout out to Judy and Jerry. How sweet. Well, I think looking at kind of the personal timeline of your life, um, especially in the timeline of our guest today, can be so significant in identifying kind of who somebody is or what they hold or value. And when we talked to our guest today, he really shared some amazing moments in his personal journey that were just so special. So we're so excited to welcome Tosh Peterson, also known as Tosh the drummer, as our guest today. I'm Courtney Dawn,
And I'm Chris Margolin.
and this is Cassingles.
Welcome. Enjoy the ride, guys.
It's gonna be a wild one.
There we go.
How we doing?
Pretty
Hi.
good. How you guys doing? Sorry I'm so late.
Oh, you're good, man.
No
We've
worries.
it's given us a chance to watch through your YouTube mix of everything.
We've been having a great
Oh,
time.
hell
We've been
yeah.
we've been just dancing to songs that we grew up with, which is fascinating because they're about, there's like a 20-year gap between us, so it's awesome and
So much fun.
so much fun. So welcome to Cassingles. I'm Chris and this is Courtney
I'm
Dawn.
Courtney.
And we are
Love it.
really excited to have you on. You have had a very interesting, last few years of music, but we really like to start things very, very early on. Like, who were you on the first day of kindergarten? Like, who
Oh,
was
wow.
who was Tosh Peterson walking into kindergarten? What type of person were you?
All right. So let me walk you through this. I was raised by a mom and dad who love music. My dad is a drummer. I grew up with him always on tour and playing shows all the time. I was always around. Um, I was homeschooled actually, so I was around. So I was around like just all of my dad's friends and all of their kids who were all kind of like minded, and um, we always had drums in my house, and I've always said I want to be a professional drummer. I've always, that's always been my goal is being able to tour and make a living playing drums. But it never really seemed like a crazy, concept to me. It was like, okay, that's the job I want to do. Like my brother wanted to be a professor, and I was like, cool, I want to be a drummer. It's like it's very like for me it was a very normal job, and so that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. And when I was 8 years old I started playing drums at my church. At by 10 I was playing in musical theater, and when I was 16 I went on my first tour, and I've just kind of been like going since then, and been really lucky to play with a lot of cool different artists and bands and stuff, and bands that I love and listen to. You know, it's been a pretty wild ride.
That's amazing. So your parents kind of just put drumsticks in your hand the first chance they got, or did you just kind of pick them up right away, or how did that, can you remember? Do they kind of tell stories about it?
Yeah, well, it's funny. We were just talking about this yesterday because we got a new electronic kit at the house that I was kind of messing around with, and I'm doing a video shoot with it. So I was like, oh, I should practice on it for a little bit, and I have it set up in my living room. I still live with my parents, by the way. So I'm like,
Nice.
I'm in my living room. It's like there's this, I'm in my drum room right now, which is my garage. But we're like, okay, we'll just set this up in the living room so I can practice on it for a few days before the video shoot. And last night, my sister went and sat down and started playing on it, and she can totally play drums, and she hasn't played drums in years, but it's just like muscle memory because I think it was more just my dad, like for fun, was like, I'm gonna teach them all how to play drums. And so me, my brother, and sister all can play drums. I'm just the only one who actually was like, yeah, I want to do this forever, like all of us can sit down and play a beat at least, and it was funny hearing. I was like, damn, Tall, you remember, like, she probably hasn't picked up sticks since she was 5 years old, and she's 22, and sat down, and I was like, this is killer, so he kind of like had us all play, but like being that we were all homeschooled until high school, so like our first, until my brother was 14 or 13, however old you are, we were all at home like all day, every day, and always together. And we would take breaks from doing schoolwork, and my mom would be like, all right, who wants to play drums? Who wants to play guitar? Who wants to do that? And we turn on a Social Distortion song or anything, and jam along to it. So we kind of grew up, all of us just loving music and playing music, and my whole family loves every genre of music. So we'd go, 1 second we're playing along to Peter Tosh, and the next we're playing along to, yeah, like Bad Religion or Snoop Dogg or anything. It's all very back to back. And
I think
yeah,
that was one of the cool things we noticed going through your list. You know, obviously we know the punk stuff had to be a big deal for you, given, the Alkaline Trio world, the Angels and Airwaves world, but we did not expect the Oingo Boingo and Boz Scaggs to pop up in there. And it was really cool to see that you have this, you're not just listening to a genre of music. I mean, not just playing a genre of music, but that you really are listening to everything.
yeah, dude, it's so funny, man. Like people, I think, would be very confused standing outside my drum room. Yeah, I mean, yesterday for like 4 hours, I was just playing along to like Bob Marley and stuff. Like just like I'm just like it's really switches every day, and throughout the day even, and even what we listen to, we'll be at dinner and have an Under Oath song come on, and then after an Under Oath song, we'll come on ABBA or something like that. It's like my family literally loves music. Also, we're all fucking deaf, so we have like it's literally, people are like in shock when they come over for dinner because it's like we have music playing so loud
My
at
dad.
all times.
Both
Yeah,
our parents' houses.
it's amazing. We just have shit blaring, and it could be anything. It'll be like my mom recently was signed up for some classes at the junior college by my house because she was like, what, I want to work on French, and she's like. So, but she's like, oh, I got to take a few different classes. So she took a history of jazz, and so we're listening to, Tower of Power, Oakland Stroke, and stuff like
There
that.
you
And
go.
then it'll shuffle to a Slipknot song or something, and it's just so, like, we literally all love every genre of music. I think they probably think my music taste is the weirdest, but they support it. They'll definitely be like, how'd you get into this? I'm just like, no, this shit fucking rocks, dude. Like,
Well,
but
I guess
we all love everything.
that does lead to a good question. How did you get into all of this? So obviously you're talking about mom listening to Social Distortion and things like that. The bands that you listen to come from our high school generation of stuff. I mean, when I'm watching through your list, I mean, we're rocking out to everything.
I literally said these are the songs that made us,
Yeah,
like,
we're
I
from
love it.
generation of our
Portland.
parents and then
We're from Portland, so it's like
Yeah,
you're rocking out to an Everclear song on there, and I'm like, oh, when I was 14 years old at my first job, the guitar player from Everclear, the side guitar player from Everclear used to shop at my grocery store. Like,
yeah,
but that's not necessarily things that we've taught for a long time. It's not necessarily the music of our students.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
so is it the music of your friends as well? And like, what were those bands that defined who you kind of wanted to start out as a drummer?
Well, I would say that's a great question. For like Everclear and a lot of bands like that, it's like those are the bands my dad toured with. My dad was drummer for the English Beat, so he did a bunch
Oh,
of
okay.
bunch of tours with, Everclear, Goldfinger, No Doubt, uh a lot of Stray Cats randomly. Like they did a bunch of shows with all those guys, The Alarm, and then hearing all these different types of bands. A lot of like that era, Sugar Ray, like those types of bands are just bands that my dad was friends with, and so that's kind of how I heard them. Even if we didn't listen to them a lot growing up, it's just like I always knew who they were because of
Yeah.
him, and that it's randomly he'd be telling a story about Darren from Goldfinger, and him walking through New Orleans. I like because I was always so like obsessed with the idea of being on tour and stuff. So I would just be like, tell me a story about this, or like tell me about this and stuff. And so I always kind of like was like super interested in listening to the bands that he would tell me stories about. My parents, like I said, listened to it so much. So a lot of like my mom is big. I think my mom probably likes more punk rock than my dad. My mom loves, Social D, Bad Religion. I think Bad Religion is probably her favorite band. Like um, every year at Christmas, it'd be like the Bad Religion Christmas album would be like blaring, and like we'd have friends over, and their parents were like, "What the hell is happening right now?" Like, we're listening to punk rock, Little Drummer Boy and stuff, and
Yep.
so I like she loves that stuff as well as a lot of like, you know. She was really into some dark '80s stuff and Depeche Mode and stuff like that, as well as um, big into like the ABBAs and the Oingo Boingos and stuff like that. And then my dad was really into like the drummers bands, like the Police, Rush, um, obviously Tommy Lee and Molly Crew and stuff. All like so, I got all like the old school drum influences from my dad, and then just hearing all that different stuff from my family. My dad was also really big into hip hop, so he loves Snoop Dogg, Dre, all the NWA stuff, and like all those guys. Like, I remember being like a kid at like a family party, and everyone is like hammered drunk, and we're all the kids were in our friends' jam room. We're all playing. My dad got in there and started rapping "Nappy Dug Out" by Ice Cube, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is going on right now?" Like,
Amazing.
it's so I like all like there was such an eclectic mix, and then I would say as I got older, I got into some different music that my family didn't listen to because I found like Thomas Pridgen, so I got really into the Mars Volta, and then I got super into Aaron Gillespie and Connor Dennis. So then that's kind of when I got into more of like the screamo Warp Tour side of things and emo stuff. Like my parents never were really into like that sort of like I say Warp Tour, but meaning like the more recent Warp Tour years, like
Yeah.
'cause obviously Warp Tour started out as such a different mix,
For
but
us,
like
well, yeah, for us, like Warped Tour of the '90s was the defining foundational moment of punk rock of that skate punk scene.
totally, dude.
So it was, I mean, and I I shockingly never went to. I think I've seen every band on the Warped Tour, but I never got to go to a Warped Tour, which was insane. But I
Oh no
mean,
way, that's
it's funny
crazy.
you talk about the English Beat, and I guarantee you, Courtney and I have seen them come through Portland in the '90s 100 times, opening up for Sugar Ray and No Doubt and all these bands
Yeah,
that would have played through at La Luna in Portland back then. So it's
yeah. Did you ever
fascinating.
see him at what was that? What's the one that's purple now? The Roseland.
Roseland, yeah. Oh yeah. The
Did you ever
Roseland
see him
Theater
there?
would have absolutely have seen those. I mean, I can't be sure, but we would have absolutely seen the bands that they toured with. And we were people who were going to 3 or 4 shows a week. So
Yeah,
I
we,
love
we
it.
guarantee we would have been there. And I love the Roseland. We
a
spent
lot of time there.
countless hours at the Roseland.
There's an old story of a show that my dad didn't even really remember, but it was English Beat, No Doubt, Garbage. Uh, I'm trying to think. I think Everclear was on it. It was a
Jesus.
bunch of people up. I'm not sure if it was at the Roseland or but one of them in Portland, and we were some. I'm pretty sure it might have been there, but wherever I was on a tour, and I was with this guy from the headlining band, and he's like this kind of older dude, and he's talking to me. He's like asking me about how I got into music, and I start telling him about my dad, and he tells me a story. He's like, "Yeah, I remember your dad," and he's like, we're at this venue that we're at right now in Portland, and I'm pretty sure it was the Rose End, but I'm not positive. And he was like, starts telling me the story about like all the bands and Garbage and Everclear and everyone, and I asked my dad, and he's like, "Oh, I did." He's like, "Oh, that makes sense." Yeah, that sounds about right timing wise. It's so funny.
I mean, I have to imagine getting lost in. I mean, I've only done a couple tours, in my 30 years of playing music, and
And you do, even in that short amount of time, get kind of lost in the road and in the shows that you play, and you don't really know what's going on from place to place to place. So it has to be I mean, you've spent the bulk of your life kind of jumping from place to place to place. Has there been, when earlier on, was there a home for you? Was there a city that felt most like on the road, you always knew that was going to be a home for you?
That's a great question. There's definitely been a few that I every time I'm on a tour and I see that we're stopping there, I get super excited because it feels like I know like the back of my hand. I would say one of those is like Amsterdam for sure. Is like I went there when I was really young. I went on a trip to Africa with my grandma,
Cool.
and on the way back we had a 1 day layover in Amsterdam, and so we're there. Maybe got like 8 hours to cruise around the city. And I was like, this is the greatest place in the world. I was like 12, or I was 13, I think, because I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And so I was like,
Oh,
I
wow.
was 13. I was like, this is the greatest place in the world. And, then 3 years later, I was on my first tour and we went through there and I was so excited. And, and I had traveled a bunch. I'd been all over, growing up, my parents were really big on traveling, my grandma as well, like, so she took us all over the place, and then as obviously going to see my dad around on tour and stuff and seeing him play all over, even just road trips and stuff. Like we were always traveling, but I always was like, okay, I can't wait to go back to Amsterdam. And now, I mean, I've been there countless. I don't even know how many times, probably 20 times, 30 times, maybe. I don't know. And every time I go back, it's like, I'm going to Amsterdam. And it's funny, I don't even smoke weed. And I'm just like, this is the greatest place in the world. Like, I just love it so much. And I feel like home there. I could walk around there anytime, and I feel like I know like the back of my hand. I would say that's a big one. Barcelona's a big one for me. I love it over there, and I'm like I could totally live there if I wanted. Like if I could, I would love it. Barcelona, New York is a big one too. I love New York City, and every time I get to go there, I'm so happy. And um, I think I love a lot of these places because they're so drastically different from Orange County, California, where is my home, and it's my favorite place in the world. And like I love being from Orange County, but if I'm gonna get out, I want the exact opposite. Like it's like cool. I have beaches, I have everything great, but if I get to go and like have a walking city, I think that it's my favorite thing in the world. And going to Europe as well. There's just so much history that we don't have here. I mean, seeing buildings that are like hundreds of years old, and it's like the oldest building here is like they're like, wow, this place is already 50 years old. That's crazy. It's like people are like, what? Like, you know it's just I think it's just so cool. I mean, my whole family's history nerds. My brother's getting his PhD in history right now. He wants to be a professor.
Very cool.
I grew up around it, and so getting to go to these places that it's just like I don't know. I would say, yeah. I mean, it kind of veered off from what just feels like home to where's my favorite place, but it all
That's
does
all
kind of
right.
like it's like if I could get a place in Amsterdam right now, I would, and I would just go stay there and walk and walk and walk every day and just cruise and watch live
How's
music.
how's the music scene there?
Dude, amazing too. I don't know how the actual local scene is, but I love the venues there. There's like four of my favorite venues in the world are in Amsterdam,
Hell
It's
yeah.
like it's a great place. I love it so much.
Well, you just light up when you talk about it. I can see how much you
Yeah.
love it from here. Like that sounds like you found your home at some point.
Well, I wonder,
Yeah, right? I know.
does some of that connection come from, those 8 hours you had with your grandmother there? Does that memory itself kind of make Amsterdam more of a home for you?
I probably honestly, and I still do some of the same stuff I did that first time. It's all my friends make fun of me every time I'm there. I go to the cheese museum and I go and
No, I
I
love
go and
Sounds great.
it's amazing, dude. I love it. And you just go and I do all the same stuff every time. I'm such a creature of habit, and it's funny because my family is like always been like super open to like you can be anywhere in the world. Like my family has a house in France that they got during the pandemic, and so everyone kind of my grandma's pretty much there full time now, and my mom and sister go all summer. My dad will go as much as he can in the summer. My brother goes a bunch, and I don't get to go there as much, but it's always like because of that, it doesn't seem as far off to be able to like, oh yeah, I guess I'll just at some point have a place there. I'm like, let me get a house here first, and then I'll fucking start worrying about that. But I love it.
Well, yeah, I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing. I love how deeply rooted you are with your family. We're really family oriented too. We're very close. We live just a couple miles away from my parents. And my brother lives just a
Sweet.
couple miles away from us and is building a new house just a couple miles the other direction from us.
Oh, sick. I love it. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, we would live next door to my parents if we could. We're trying to get his parents closer if we could
Well,
too.
at some point.
At some point.
My
Oh,
parents are
I
very
get it. I get
my
it.
parents are
I
very
love
set
it.
in their ways. They love their house. They've definitely told us that they will die in their house. They are not
I'm
moving
very much
anywhere.
a creature of habit too. Like when I go back to the places that I visited as a child and stuff, I want to do those exact same things and take my daughter to those same places and have those same memories, even if it's 100 times. Or I mean, I live in the same town that I was born in. I was born on Main Street, and I still, when we drive downtown, I want to take Chris past my childhood home and be like, nope, this is where I lived until I was in the fourth grade, and this is where I got ice cream on the weekends, and I don't care if you've seen
I
it
love
40
it,
times.
dude.
I want you to see it again. So I love
It's
that.
so
Thank you for
funny
sharing.
because it's like the same as my parents. Like whenever we go, both my parents are from Orange County. I live in the house that my mom spent most of her life in.
Yeah.
From I think she was in middle school. I think on she's been in this house, you know. But my dad, you know, like when her and my dad first met, you know, like they lived in San Clemente and stuff, and like they'll whenever we're down there, they'll be like, yeah, and here's where we lived when we had your older brother, and then here's the, you know, it's like they're the same way, and my mom gets annoyed, but my dad's like, I'm like, fuck yeah, show me again. You know, I
I've
love
tried
it.
to drive we've got a 15-year-old and I've tried to drive her past my childhood home a couple times and there's no it's not very cool looking. It doesn't have anything fun next to it, so we
Headed
don't get
anywhere.
much love for it. I've always wanted to go. I'm the only one in my family not from New York, and I've always wanted my parents to take me on a trip of their old homes. I always think that would be fascinating. It was something to do. And for some reason, I've never been able to get them to agree to that.
Well, maybe now that they're hearing it, they'll be like, ah,
Yeah,
But
no, they're gonna watch this and be like,
pressure.
fine, he really wants it.
I do. I think it'd be
I love it.
fascinating.
Well,
Totally, dude. I love that.
when you think back to your childhood or your parents, is there a song that you can think of that like brings back a memory, or even your grandmother, of your parents or your grandmother?
I mean, as funny as this is gonna sound, the it's hard because there's so many songs like you know David Bowie stuff and like stuff that I think of my childhood, you know. But the a song that means a lot to me just because of the drumming on it, and it's programmed drums, but it's a Snoop Dogg, G's and Hustlers,
Oh,
and
I love
I
it.
remember like being like 5 and my dad showing me how to do that fill, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like it's like a hook to the song, and it's one like little fucking fiddle, and I was like 5, like I want to be a motherfucking hustler, you know. It was like,
Amazing.
and yeah, like so I think
that's epic.
that song just sticks with me all the time, just because of the drum fill in that song. That you know, it's I should make a video of that actually. Now I'm thinking about it,
You
because that
Oh
one,
my
absolutely
dude,
should.
God.
That's
That
fantastic.
would be something that would happen in our household.
yeah, fully, dude.
I love that. We've talked to other people about it, but like our parents were pretty open about music that we listened to, and we each have definitely a story of like a parent not vibing really well and like destroying a tape or something
Yeah,
but we got to at least 11 or like middle school before that happened. That's fantastic that at 5 years old, your dad's like, here's G's and Hustles from the Snoop Dogg album.
yeah,
Let's learn this part of it. And that it was just such an all-encompassing experience. Like music really was everything about your world was kind of surrounded by music in some way, which is amazing.
yeah,
Outside
for sure.
outside of your parents, who was one of your first mentors for music?
I the biggest one for me is Thomas Pridgen from the Mars Volta. When I found him, I made my dad like I was like find a way for me to meet him. I got to meet him. So he like looked up where he's playing. We went down and met him, and he was playing by my house, and then I took lessons from him from 11 till 16. So
Oh
I was
wow.
like, yeah, he was my teacher. And once I started touring, it just got so busy, and he got busy, and but for yeah, like 5 years, he was my teacher. I would go see him once a month whenever he was in town, because he lived up in the Bay Area. But he would, yeah, like I would say he for sure is the biggest, you know, musical inspiration for me, drumming wise, other than my family. And I still to this day, I mean, I talk to him all the time, and every time I text him and stuff, I still am just like, whoa, I'm hanging out with like my favorite drummer. It's crazy. And I borrowed a drum set from him for a show that I had in San Francisco once, and he, went out and picked it up from his place in Oakland, and yeah, I mean,
Is there
it's he's my favorite for sure.
is there a piece of advice that he's given you along the way that you kind of carry with you?
Um, I mean, there's been so much like drumming wise, not drumming wise. It's kind of hard to put give one piece of advice. Like I would say the biggest is drumming and stuff. It's You'll notice if you hang out with me enough. I'm right-handed, but now I do everything left-handed. You'll be like, what is like if you really pay attention, if I open the door, I'm leading with my left hand. If I am eating, I'm typically eating with my left hand. I brush my teeth left-handed. And I always was right-handed, and he was like, yeah, your right hand's too dominant. Like you need to like be good with both. So I just
Oh,
started doing everything left-handed, and that's stuck with me for sure. And it's such a small thing, but it's just like it's been with me since I think since my first lesson with him. He told me that, and I've always I started doing it. I was like making a mess, like trying to eat left-handed, like spilling and stuff, and then now I just do it normally. Like it's so funny,
that's
but
awesome.
yeah.
That's great advice.
Now, I have to ask a question because we've been watching a ton of videos, and I've noticed the Black Flag logo pop up over the last little bit here, and the fuck is now gone.
Yes.
So my I was thinking like that original tattoo is probably like a high school scratch tattoo that you did at some point. But either way, why cover it up? Why not rock with it?
I wish it was a high school scratch tattoo. I got it when I was 21 on tour with the Kid Leroy, and
Okay.
I was backstage. I wanted it on my collarbone, and I wasn't really paying attention. I looked, and it was below, and I was like, I want it on my collarbone. She's like, yeah, I mean, it's on you forever, so you can't really do anything about it now. I was like, okay, cool, no worries. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I liked it. It was cool, and then a few different reasons. the The main one is every time I'm on TV or anything like that, I have to get makeup to cover it, and I
Ah,
hate sitting in glam for any longer than I have to.
that
It's
makes a lot of sense.
like no
Exhausting.
offense to the amazing glam teams that I've gotten to
We
work
love
with.
all glam teams, but
Yeah, they're
it's
amazing,
exhausting.
but it's exhausting being in there, and you can only listen to so much Neo and Pitbull, which I love, but after a certain amount of time, I'm like, all right, I gotta get out of this room, and so I that was the main reason why I got it, and I love Black Flag,
Hell
and I
yeah.
think they're a great band. So I was like, this will be an easy cover up. And the tattoo artist was trying to talk me into a Red Hot Chili Peppers logo, and I was like, that is no, I can't. I love them; they're seriously one of my favorite bands. But I was like, I can't be a guy with a Red Hot Chili Peppers logo tattooed on my chest.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And no offense to anyone who does, but they're seriously like in my top three favorite bands of all times, but I can't do that. And then the other reason is, I mean, I'm not old, but at some point, if I want to have kids, I don't want to be the dad who has fuck tattooed on his chest. And I also probably the reason at some point the nipple rings will come out, but I have to.
Yeah, you can be the dad with nipple rings.
That's all right. But when
That's
we
okay.
when our kid was little, because I'm covered neck down, and
Yeah.
when I was little, it was great because we could sit in an airport waiting for a flight somewhere, and we would just hand Leo a box of markers, and I would
You
just
were
stick my
literally given
arm
coloring book
because
and
then I hadn't had the color put in yet. So for years, purposefully for years, so we could just sit there, and she would just color in all my tattoos.
oh my
Dude, that
God.
is the coolest thing
I
ever.
swear to God, it saved me so much fucking money and my sanity. I would be like,
It
baby,
was
here, just
perfect.
color dad, and be
Color
quiet.
Dad,
Please be
dude,
quiet.
that is the coolest thing in the world, actually. I would totally do that. Like, that's fucking rad.
It, yeah, I highly recommend it. Just a box of fucking washable markers
Yeah.
because in a crisis in an airport layover or in a
Car
restaurant.
dealership, the worst. The
Oh
longest
yes,
was a car dealership. When we were buying a car, we had to sit there, and she was probably like 4 years old, and we just were like,
our
okay,
child's an
this
angel.
was going nuts. So we just sat there the entire time we were doing the car thing because it's take forever. She just drew my entire arm, and it was great.
Uh-huh. You
That's
give
the
her markers
coolest
and
thing in the
she's great.
world.
Uh-huh. This my
Dude,
husband is just the sweetest.
that's fucking so cool. Cause I mean, I grew up, my dad would always be like, when my brother went to high school, I went to high school, but only for 1 year. But my brother, I'm 5 years younger than him. And so when he went, like, my mom and dad would be there, like, his track mates and stuff. And everyone was like, "Who's the guy with the long beard?" Also, we went to like a private Catholic school,
Yeah.
and so it's like all like these like preppy, dads and stuff. And then my dad walks up with like his long beard and his tattoos and his construction shirt, and he's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, dude!" Like, or wearing a band T-shirt or something. And
Right.
it's just like it's so funny. So that's kind of what I was used to that. So I definitely will be. I mean, I'm still gonna have a fat Mike tattoo and a
Oh yeah.
sick dick on my wrist.
There
But
you go.
On
but
it.
uh, there's a few things I'm like, yeah, maybe nipple rings will come out at some point if I have kids.
You
Well,
might grab at them when they're first born, so that might
Yeah,
that's a
exactly,
real
exactly.
danger.
tragic accident waiting to happen.
Dude, they still get caught on like blankets and stuff in hotel. I'll be like waking up, and be like, fuck, dude, god damn it, like it's the worst.
One of the things that we do with or everybody that comes on is that I listen to all of kind of your music and I one of the cool things for me is I have a brain injury, so I haven't gotten to listen to a lot of music. Well, over the time of my brain injury, I did prior to. So it's a really cool
It's been
experience
about
for
6 years.
It's been about 6 years. So it's really fun for me to get to experience all of your music kind of like for the first time in a new way. And then as I'm listening, I plan out a lesson because I'm also a former educator. So
Sick.
then we present that to our listeners. And what I kind of came up with when I was listening to, well, I was actually listening and watching you, which was so much fun
We spent a
because,
lot of time at the Coachella show.
well, and
Oh, sick.
you are like an experience to watch. You just bring this whole life and life force to music that because I'm usually just listening without seeing, right?
Huh.
But well, kind of, because I have kind of synesthesia, so I experience music in a different way. But
Oh,
actually,
sick.
like
That's amazing.
watching you, I can find you on the stage all the time, and I'm not necessarily somebody that pays attention. I'm gonna like out myself here. I never know who's in a fucking band. Like if you ask me like who's in, I'm
Yeah.
like I don't know, and then I feel terrible because I can't fucking name anybody, and I'm like I'm the shittiest person in the world. But I know
No,
all
no,
the
I get it. I
I
get it.
know all the lyrics.
Yeah, I love
um,
it.
so but it's like I could find like a Lady Gaga show, I can find you in a sea of everything that's going on because you are so alive on that stage. And that is just this magical thing to me because you just are this drawing force.
Oh,
Um,
thank you so much.
yeah, well, and it tracked too then when I saw all of these videos of you in your drum room because it's that same like magnetism that you bring and it is so much fun to watch you play. And I mean, well, I've seen drummers before and been like, "Oh yeah, that's fun." I've never really like watched for the drummer before in that way and then been like, "Oh my God, I want to watch the drummer."
Hell yeah, dude.
So when I was watching, I came up with a lesson. Oh, I'm so old. I've got to take my glasses off so I can see. Um, called What's Your Drum Line? The Heartbeat of Your Life. So the purpose would be for whoever is doing the lesson, it could be kids or other learners, to kind of demonstrate their own timeline or an understanding of timelines by creating their own timeline. So we'd show kind of a series of clips of you throughout time, starting with maybe even your guitar. We found a
We've had one from when you were, I think, 16 or 17, doing maybe a Guitar Center or some drum demo,
uh-huh.
Oh,
something. It's literally a 17-second clip of you on YouTube
It
doing
is
some
amazing.
random demo of something. It looks like a guitar store, maybe a NAMM event or something.
oh
Ju-
wow.
Uh,
I might have even been younger in that. That's crazy.
You were so little, like but you can just see the like progression and just how much you love it. And while they're watching, just ask them, what do they notice about you and the drum lines as they watch? Because there's this parallel of um the drums are the heartbeat and this driving force in songs. They're what move the song forward. But also whoever's playing those drums really is that driving force as well. You put your mark on it. You are really this reflection of that, right? And then there's this also timeline of your life. So there's this kind of duality of you in that song, but also on the timeline of your career. So
Totally.
having them have these conversations and then how does having them just kind of look at how does a drummer or drums drive the music, and then have them look at what's driving uh, their heart right now. What's the heartbeat of their life? What's
Yeah,
something that they're passionate about? And kind of looking at it through different lenses. So it could be anything from something that's huge, something they've worked really hard for, like you have with drums, or it could be something that they're just really passionate about, like the life cycle of frogs or baseball,
totally.
or something that they're just starting to get passionate about. So maybe they're just starting to learn about a type of art or music or whatever it is, and then
Yeah.
illustrating that in some way. So I did mine.
And we'll send this on over
I'll
to you
send
as
it to you
well.
so you can see it.
Yeah, please do.
And so I did like a EKG kind of heartbeat, and then I wrote a poem, and I'll read you mine. It's called He's My Heartbeat. And I wrote the poem around it, but then I wrote it out because I wrote it too small to actually read it,
Fair.
for me to read it, because again, blind. Uh, so he's my heartbeat, a profile, gold coat, chocolate milk, my hero, dark night, and I don't know, a million billion unicorns, and amputation Thursdays, naked dances, car crashes, and I've never been so pretty. A family strong, made of beautiful disaster, with our North Star always leading the way. And that was about the timeline of our marriage.
Oh, sick. I
Yeah.
love it.
We first met on a dating site, so that's the profile. And our first date was I was wearing a gold coat, and he always talks about it.
But
Oh, sick.
we oddly had worked together for about a decade before we even knew
That
who
we existed.
we've been in the same rooms together, in the same like curriculum meetings together, but we'd never spoken before. And then I saw her on a dating site, and it's like, all right.
For real? That is
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. Like we both worked in like our background is education. It's my 23rd year teaching. And so, and Courtney was doing a lot of state curriculum work and work for the same district. And so we would be in all these curriculum meetings trying to figure out how to teach these little ones. Uh but we've never spoken, never had any reason to interact at those until we met online.
Oh, now you're
That's
going through a
amazing,
divorce.
dude.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That's
Um,
actually that's fucking so rad. I mean, it's I didn't realize you guys were both in education because that's a big part of my family. Obviously, my brother wants to be a professor. He's
mhm,
he's he's teaching at ASU as well while he's is getting his
that's great.
PhD. And then my sister really wants to do be a teacher as well. She's currently studying early childhood development,
Very
and
cool.
so my whole family is like big on education. I mean, my mom taught us. We were homeschooled until high school, and so it's a big part of my family. It's like teaching and music, education and music, and we're big on it and stuff. And I always try to, give back and do stuff and like for students and kids and stuff because I want to get people just amped on whatever they're amped on. Like,
Yeah.
because for me, I like my parents were like, dude, you could be like the best tennis player in the world or like the best garbage man in the world if you want to, like whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter. Like,
Just be the best at it.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
as long as you're stoked on your life, like that's awesome, and like that's all the I think everyone needs to have like don't just settle. Like don't ever just settle. Like do what you want to do and that could be like the simplest thing in the world, but just as long as you're working hard at it, like you shouldn't have to hate your job, like, whatever it is, like everything has stuff about it that sucks. Like, I have, in my opinion, one of the coolest jobs in the world, and there's still going to be stuff that sucks, but you'll always be pumped if you're doing what you love to do. And whether that's, you know, teaching or playing music or literally, like being a janitor or anything, like it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're like, this is the fucking coolest job in the world, then that's like
Yeah.
how I feel like people should always live their life.
I
Yeah.
love that. And I love that your parents encourage that. That's what we want for our daughter too. I think so often we think of like school and stuff as being something that has to like prepare you for life, or when really I think it should just be preparing you to like be a person. And then when you are a person, you'll find that thing that drives you and that thing that you love and that thing that makes you want to wake up in the morning and keep doing it. And that's where you end up finding your passion that leads you to your career. But that's not what
Dude,
life defines
totally.
you. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, one of the reasons, the whole real reason that Cassingles started, was because we're so frustrated with, as a middle school teacher who watches this curriculum come in the classroom that students don't love, but they love music. So why can't we
Yeah,
just listen to music and couple that with every assignment and make it fun?
totally.
And so it was just trying to figure out another layer of how do we, every musician is actually just a person, and they
Yeah.
actually just did the same things that you guys did. So
Well,
For sure.
and what's their story? And like, what stories do they have to tell about
yeah,
how they started? And not everybody's story in education is the same. Everybody's
Yeah.
different. Some people really liked school. Some people didn't even go to a regular school, and that's fine. Some people
Yeah.
hated school. Some people liked it a lot. Some people, like we've talked to musicians that came from every situation, but the through line is kind of the same, that at some point they realized music was their love and made a choice
Yeah.
and just walked that path. And if
Dude,
we
I
can,
think I think teachers are, sorry to cut you off, but I
oh,
think
no,
go.
yeah.
teachers are the most important thing in the world, because it's like I had teachers like when I went to high school, I had teachers that I still keep in contact with, and I'm like, they're rad. And then I had teachers who were like calling me a dummy because I couldn't figure out how to turn an assignment and stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm like, dude, that ruined that, like, and like I said, my whole family's history buffs, but like it made me not even want to take that history class, just because I was like, this teacher sucks, dude. And I love history. And I was like, but then I got, like a computers teacher, that I'm like, I don't give a shit about computers. Like, it was like a mandatory, he was like the tennis coach who was then like got assigned because he had to do something else. They made him be the computers teacher.
that's
And he,
amazing.
like, I still keep in contact with him because he was like, I'm gonna figure this out with you guys, and it'll be
We'll
great,
all do it together.
Yeah, and it's like, and it
Both
really
literally
matters
been
so
that
much.
teacher.
I had a
It's the best.
semester teaching. I had a semester about 10 years ago. I was teaching had to teach a mythology class because I'd grown a creative writing department. And they're like, okay, well, if you want to do this, you have to teach mythology. And they told this to me a week or so before the school year started. Luckily, I had a student in the class who loved mythology. And I was like, all right, today, so and so is going to teach us about this section of the story. Because
I love it.
My first year teaching, my first week, or right before they taught, I had on my schedule intro to comp. And I thought it was a period of intro to composition. I was like, oh, creative writing or something. And they were like, no, intro to computers. And I was like, the fuck? I
You're like,
teach
what the
eighth grade English. Like, what do you mean intro to computers? And they were like, it's an elective, just figure it out. And I was like, what do you mean figure it out? I start in like,
you're,
they come in 5 days. They're
you're
eighth
like, I don't
graders.
know
It's gonna
anything
take me a
about
lot.
this.
No, like I didn't even know, like, wait, to get their attention. I was like, so I need their attention. I need them to like have their screens off. Okay, I'll have them like tape a piece of like paper over the front so that like they can flip it down. And one of my
Yeah,
kids looks at me and goes, couldn't we just push the button to turn the fucking screen? Like, shouldn't say fuck, but, like to turn the screen
yeah.
off. And I was like,
we could.
maybe, like, oh,
If you
okay.
wanted to,
Or we could
yeah,
just do it my way that would like take a lot of energy and like things, or you could push
yeah.
the button. Okay, smarty.
Like,
Fine, press the button if you want
Fine,
to be
press the
lame like
button.
everyone else.
Yeah, my way was great and a lot of tape.
Yeah, that took a lot of tape and paper.
And like 45 minutes of my
Yeah,
time.
literally.
Clearly
That's
not
amazing.
qualified.
Hey, it's
well,
all good.
Well, Tosh, thank you so much for hopping on here today. This has been an
So much
absolute
fun.
blast. We appreciate you being a part of this, and we look forward to your career. I'm a huge Alkaline Trio fan. You could tell Dan hi. We played a couple shows together
Oh, amazing. Yeah,
about a
dude.
about a decade ago at this point, when he was on tour with Matt Pryor.
Oh, sweet.
But thank you so much for hopping on here. I can't wait to see where you venture off to and what type of music you play over your career, because it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Thank
Oh,
you
we're
so
so
much.
excited. And if you're ever in Portland, we'd love to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, I don't know if we're doing Portland on this run, but I come through, often here and there, and
Cool.
so yeah, I'll hit you guys up next time. I really appreciate you
Awesome.
guys having me on. I'm stoked for everything, and yeah, have a good
Thank you.
one.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you
talk
so much
soon.
for talking
All
Bye.
with
right,
us.
later.
Thanks for listening and following along. We'll be back soon with more stories and songs. That's Cassingles. That's Cassingles. Yeah, that's Cassingles.